Welcome to the People's Town Hall. Woo! Right? Yes. This is a town hall that was created just for you. So, as many of you know, my name is Denise Wilkerson, and I'm running for First Ward Council. But how this People's Town Hall really materialized was because we were door to door talking to our residents and our neighbors and really sharing information. And we realized that people didn't have enough information about some key things that are happening in the borough that really affects us and our ability to enjoy a prosperous and peaceful life that's affordable here in the borough of Roselle. And so today, we are here to give you that information, and then we're also going to listen to you, because any representative that is asking you to give them the honor to represent you, and if they're not asking you what your concerns are, perhaps they're not really looking to represent you. And so I invited you here today so that you can give your concerns to not only myself, but to Cynthia Johnson, who's running in the 3rd Ward, and to the committee people. And we're going to talk about that committee a little later on because it's critical to the process of democracy, okay? And so let's give our committee people, the people who are running for committee seats, a round of applause. And we'll meet them before we're done. So let's go ahead and get started with the information. I want to respect your time. All right. So the first thing is Roselle. This is a beautiful, beautiful borough, right? And we're a borough that has set the trend for many others that followed behind us. We're the first village or town that was lit by electricity. Right? And so we give that a round of applause because we're a borough that has led and has been a leader. It's beautiful tree-lined streets. I moved here because of that, and I love that, and just the vision of having your kids run down the block and enjoy this beautiful neighborhood was really what brought many of us to Roselle. It's a diverse community. Look at this audience today. Look how diverse we are. This is Roselle. Yes, this is Roselle. And don't let people divide us, because together we are strong, and we need to celebrate our diversity. And then the other is, it's a town or borough that is really positioned well when you think about the tri-state area. We're pretty close to almost every attraction that there is in the tri-state area. And also, the number one thing that makes Roselle beautiful are its beautiful people. You guys make Roselle beautiful. But there are some challenges that we face as a borough. And I'm a person who truly believes that in God's promise for us. God wants us to live in prosperity, peace, and in love. And sometimes when we're struggling financially, it's hard to enjoy that promise. And so we want to talk about a few things that we believe are burdening the people here in Roselle. So everyone knows that taxes are really high. The average property tax is $9,000, almost $10,000. And if you look at this chart here, you'll see that the taxes keep going up, but the median income of families continues to go down. And so we're looking at a $43,000 average for families when it comes to the income that they have. And 23% of that income goes towards taxes. And that climb of taxes has been happening, and the services delivered has not changed much. And so, the balance isn't there. What is contributing to that? The municipal budget keeps climbing. It's 20% increase since 2010. Revenues have stagnated. The only major, income that we see is the taxes that is collected from residents. So what's really happening? This is based on some of the things that we've researched and found. We know that real estate moguls are paying little and winning big. Big businesses are getting big breaks. And homeowners are getting the short end of the stick. Residents are getting the short end of the stick. So let's talk about those people who... Let's talk about, just a little fun, I like fun. But let's talk about those moguls. And here's an example of a piece of property that I thought would be interesting to you. This is Sheridan Gardens, located on 2nd Avenue. And on November 16, 2015, it sold for 1.2, a little over $1.1 million. 2 days later, it sold for $3.7 million plus. Wow. The profit is over $2.6 million. And that first homeowner, he didn't have it for more than 30 days, so of course there was no capital gains tax paid, and so that was a benefit for him. And then also, the current owner of this property is only paying $14,250 in taxes for a 35-unit property. What we would have or potentially could have gotten was $72,000 in taxes over that. And potentially we're giving away $58,000 over that. So I wanted to kind of compare that example against what we see as homeowners and even small investors, because, you know, investing is a good thing. It's the American dream, and we're not trying to stop that. We just want some fair play across the board. And if you look here, this is a property, a ranch property on Sheridan Avenue, and it's a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, and it sold for $185,000. The assessed value is $174 plus, just over that, and their taxes is $14,079. If you see the red there where it says SG, that's the Sheridan Gardens, the 35 units, they're paying $14,250. Then we have a small investor here on East 2nd Avenue, just across the street, and the sale price was $102. The assessed value is $185,900, and the taxes are $15,017. But the units are way less, right? On Sheridan Avenue, there is a multi-dwelling apartment building. The sale price was $468,500. The assessed value is $200,000, and taxes are $16,156. The fact that that 35-unit property is only paying $14,250, I don't know what went into the deal, to be transparent, but it just doesn't seem fair to me. All right. So this is our pilot. You know, we call that payment in lieu of taxes. And sometimes you have to do that for the greater good of a community. So I understand that. You have pilot programs to incentivize businesses and investors to come into the community and plant seeds here in Roselle. And so we have some existing pilots, and I just want you to know what's out there, because this is about information. Knowledge is power, and we just want you to know where we are and some of the things that exist. So these are 2 pilot programs here. Pinewood Hall, 2nd Avenue. The land was sold for $750,000. The total value of the land and the building structure is $11.9 million. And the tax pilot, what they have to pay is $49,311. That would have been $156 would have been the traditional tax for that property. But I think that this particular one is a little unique. And the reason I'm highlighting it is, yes, it's drastic in the tax break that they get, but this is also a place that houses our seniors and makes it more affordable for seniors to stay in Roselle. Even if they can't afford to keep their homes, they have a place to stay. And so sometimes there's a balance in the benefit and the cost. And so It's a pilot program. I think there is a lot of discounting here, but I do understand that it's our seniors' home, and I'm okay with that. The next is Roselle Plaza. This was built in 2002. Not a lot of businesses were here. The assessed value is 8.9, over $8.9 million. And taxes would have been $726,802,000. And they're paying $91,601 in taxes. But it has built a lot of business in Roselle. So I just wanted to be transparent and to share what is in place today. But I think we can do better. We can't change what happened yesterday, but we should be doing much better now. And this is a particular pilot that somewhat disturbs me. So this is the Huddle House. It's going to be built on St. George Avenue. And this is their pilot program. It says 2017, but they haven't started building, so I don't know if that's even going to happen, right? But the first year, they're going to pay $4,234 for a brand new structure on St. George Avenue. And then in 2018, or the next year, it's going to go to $8,424 in taxes. And then it continues to go back down. So it doesn't really make sense, right? Who thinks that makes sense? Okay. And the caveat here is that these tax rates are contingent upon the revenue they generate. So if they don't make any money, we might not see any of those revenue points here. Okay? Yeah. It's serious. And there's a huge impact to decisions like that. And so we wanted to share with you kind of what was happening with taxes, and what goes into the activity around taxes. But there's a real impact on families, and we're seeing it. And I'm going to introduce my brother here, Kenneth Jones, who's running for committee seat in the 1st Ward. Let's give him a round of applause. It takes a lot to stand up and fight for your community. And he's a passionate man who cares about family, and he's been going door to door with me, and he's going to talk about foreclosures.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for coming out. We really feel that this is very important, so for time's sake, there's so much that's going on in Roselle, and we just want the people of Roselle to be aware. But as we talk to so many residents and walking around, we even was doing, we was taking pictures of so many homes that was abandoned. And it was sad. This was one of them that we took pictures of here. And some blocks, there was 4 abandoned homes, and it's really sad because a lot of the people they couldn't keep up with the taxes. So, we've seen a lot of empty, abandoned houses all over the borough. And currently, according to, the statistics and, and the research that we did, 1,600 homes in some stage of foreclosure. 450 homes are empty. Many residents are planning to leave. We talked to so many residents, they said they can't stay because the tax burden is too heavy for them. So, and it was really sad. We talked to one young lady, she had a beautiful home, I think it was on 3rd Avenue, right? She was a single, she was living there alone. And I guess it really brought tears to my colleague's eyes when she was telling her story. She loved her home and her property, but she had to leave because she just couldn't keep up with the taxes. And we heard so many stories like that. We've seen so many people burdened with the tax. Some people had good careers. We talked to accountants. We talked to people who was in education. We talked to people who was in business. And it's not getting any better. And what we have to do as a people and as a community is come together with tangible solutions, man, to try to curb the problem with the taxes and the other issues. This is why we wanted you to come out. This is your town hall meeting. We want to hear from you as well. And this is a real crisis here. The crisis is so heavy, it's so burdened that some people are actually going through divorce. People are breaking up. It's causing friction in families. Finances is a big part of a lot of relationships, especially when things are beyond their control. So what we want to do with this town hall meeting is have everybody come together, and we have intelligent people, and we want to give a shout out to the mayor who came in. Woo! Mayor Gansler. And we we know that we can do it better together. And we can't do this, we cannot tackle this problem without your help. Without your help, we cannot do this. We need everybody to participate because we want you to be a part of the change that you want to see. So we just thank you.
Thank you so much, Kenneth, for sharing what we've been seeing out on the trail. And it's true. These foreclosures and the financial strife that comes through not being able to afford to live your dream. People buy their homes, because it's the American dream. We deserve that. And so there's a lot that's happening to our neighbors, and we need to make sure that we're stepping up to do our part. Now, part of the solution is going to be cutting wasteful spending, right? Because if you're spending a lot, somebody's got to pay for that. And that's oftentimes us, the taxpayers. And so we want to make sure that, you're aware of some of the wasteful spending that we have seen. And so next up, I'm going to call Cynthia Johnson, who is running for Third Ward, sorry. And before she speaks, the reason why I asked her to do this is because, Cynthia, how many years have you been in business?
22.
22 years she's been in business, and she understands the process of balancing the books and making sure that you're being cost efficient. And I thought it would be fitting for you to cover the wasteful spending. So thank you so much.
Thank you also. Good evening, everyone. I'm Mayor and guests. I would like to thank everyone for coming out to this meeting. Tell me what's going on. I want to talk about wasteful spending. My concern is that we have a borough clerk who's been out for 5 years.
Wow.
May 8th, she went out in 2012, and as you see, she's still out. That's costing us, when I say us taxpayers, $400,000 for her to sit home and collect money from us. That's what you call wasteful spending. Secondly, she's encouraging, including health benefits, higher paying for her longevity that we're paying for. We have a deputy clerk that has to assume the responsibilities for her, who's also getting paid while this one sit home and collect her money. You're talking about wasteful spending? That's wasteful spending. And this is something that I want to try to stop, is wasteful spending. Do you know who's paying for this wasteful spending? We are. We're paying for this with no benefits. Ask yourself, would you like to sit home and make $400,000 plus? Ask yourself that question. Why is it wasteful spending? Today I had the opportunity to go to 1 Acre Park for the soft ribbon cutting, the skating rink. It's called the 1 Acre Park Sports Center. I asked myself, why? There's a skating rink there. There's rooms for parties. There's also video games. There's going to be a food concession. Guess what? We're building a $59 million sports complex, which is 4 blocks from this right here. Tell me that's not wasteful spending. Oh my God. Instead of doing a shared service, $59 million that we as taxpayers is going to pay. And guess what? You have a complex that's 4 blocks away from this right here. Wasteful spending.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Cynthia. And that's the kind of passion and outrage we should have. Because this is our hard-earned money that's going on things that don't really add up. And so, Cynthia, thank you so much for bringing the passion to that piece that we had here in this presentation, because I'm outraged about the spending that's happening, the wasteful spending. Next up, we have a young man who is an engineer, super smart, could be looking to pass Roselle and looking to move on, because a lot of young people are leaving because there's not a lot of opportunity, and we understand that. But this young man is staying to fight for his community. And I am so excited about him and what he is going to do in Roselle as we continue to work together as a community, and we have his brain power. We're doing good. So let's give a round of applause for Brandon Bernier. He's running for second ward committee.
So, mind and body complex. A lot of people have heard about it. A lot of people know some facts. A lot of people know some alternative facts about the mind and body complex. I think it's the biggest question on everybody's mind in this borough right now. And what shocked me the most is I've been walking around campaigning with Denise. Half the people we mention this to in the first ward have no idea what it is. Our elected officials are up here in Borough Hall saying all the residents want this, all the residents are fine paying more taxes for it, but people don't even know about it. So, what I want to do today is give you all the facts that I've been able to find out about mind and body complex, lay out kind of where the story began, walk you through what the mind and body complex is supposed to be, and really just, give you the information to decide whether or not Roselle can afford this. It's not a matter of whether or not Roselle deserves a new recreation facility, a new early childhood center. But right now we saw median household income in Roselle is on the decline. That's generally not when you want to go ahead and build a huge project. So let's get started. Just a brief timeline of how this project came to be. Like a long time ago, I'd say, I don't know the exact year, the borough had a piece of land on Chandler Avenue in the 60s. The borough gave this to the Board of Ed specifically to build a new high school. Board of Ed did nothing with it, so it kind of just sat there for quite a long time. Right? In October of 2013, we had the original proposal for the mind and body complex from former Mayor Holly. At that point, the complex was supposed to cost $149 annual additional to your annual taxes. As the project moved along, the borough and Board of Ed decided we need to bring the county in to maybe get a better deal, have this project managed. So we brought in UCIA, which is the Union County Improvement Authority. From there, June 2015, UCIA issued the first bond ordinances. So when they were originally trying to get this project going, it was supposed to cost 2 years ago $49.5 million. At that point, they said, it'll cost you now $253 added to your taxes. August 2016, so less than a year ago, the county came in, they said, we're going to guarantee those bonds for the borough. So really, once this money's set, the county is the one, on the hook for it, but we're all still the ones paying that money. Right? What was it? A little over a year since the $49.5 million, that number grew to $59 million. And at that point, former Mayor Holly said it's going to cost now $312 additional on your taxes. So, in 2-3 years, it more than doubled. And then just last month, we had a groundbreaking for this project, and our BA, Dave Brown, was quoted as saying it's going to cost $220. So there's been a lot of numbers floated around. We're going to walk through kind of what they originally said, what I think, based on facts and figures that we've been able to find, what I think it's going to cost. So this was the original rendering that they showed in 2013. On the left, you have a new recreation center. On the right, a new 22-classroom early childhood center. And it looks wonderful, right? If we can afford it, and that's the question. We talked about foreclosures and taxes. The question is, can we afford it? So this was the layout from above. This sits between Chandler and Harrison, Morris Place, and Jewett. On the left, you have the big recreation facility. On the right, the early childhood center and parking. So we go through what's supposed to be in this complex. You've got an 8-lane, 25-meter pool, a whole huge gymnasium, a fitness center, 2-story fitness center, a banquet hall, multi-purpose room, and they were going to move the library into this community center.
Really?
And a recording studio. So go to the next one. All right, so there's the laundry list of everything they had in there: computer facilities, media centers, a new library getting moved over there, that recording studio, and then in the early childhood center, 8 pre-K classrooms, 14 kindergarten classrooms. Now let's talk about the original financial impact that they showed. They said the total cost for the borough was about $1.5 million a year. They said the total cost for the Board of Ed. Now the Board of Ed right now, for our pre-K and kindergarten children, we lease facility space in St. Joe's and in Shim's Academy on St. George. At the time, they were saying we were paying $500,000 for those leases, and that they were going to move that money, redirect it to the lease on the Mind and Body Complex. So minus that $500,000, it would be an additional $335,000, they said, for the Board of Ed cost. They said we're going to get revenues from this golf course project, the new park apartments. They said there's a community impact fee that they negotiated with that project, and they said that would be $326,000 a year, so that would offset some of the cost. And then they came up with a grand plan that our DPW would start collecting our own garbage. We would bring it in-house. And they pulled up some numbers and they said that's going to save us $500,000 a year. That saved money will help us afford the Mind and Body Complex. Their numbers originally came out to $150 a year on your taxes. At the time, there was also an alternate plan, and this I didn't know about really until recently. There's a big lot next to the current library. The borough bought that empty lot in 2004 for $280,000. The plan originally was that we would just expand the current library, fix the current library. And as they talk about this project, they talk it up, they keep talking that there's $92,000 worth of repairs that's needed in the current library. So instead of the $92,000, we should spend $59 million. I don't understand that argument. If you do, that might make sense. So let's keep going. The Board of Ed at that time said, all right, you've given us this concept plan for what was at the time supposed to be about a $19 million school portion for the Board of Ed. The people on the Board of Ed said, let's go find another plan. Let's see what else we might be able to do. So they had a company design this one. This would have been the same number of classrooms, about $17.8 million. But the big caveat here, any normal school construction has to go through a referendum. The people, you guys, us, we're supposed to say, yes, we should spend this money to build a new school. And when you do that, the state comes in and says, all right, we'll pay some of that. So at the time, the state was willing to cover about $4.5 million if we were to go ahead with this plan. So we would have been stuck with maybe $13 million just to build an early childhood center. So that was Plan B. Plan B's gone. They've barreled ahead with Plan A, Mind and Body Complex. So just let me give you a little bit of a detailed timeline. October 2013, when this project was announced, NETA Architects had already designed this concept plan for former Mayor Holly. August 2015, we brought in Union County Improvement Authority. So they're the development entity. They're the ones running the show. December of 2015, UCIA issues a request for qualifications. So they go out for bids. Who wants to build this project for us? A month later, they closed that period with one bid. One bid. I don't know how many construction projects you've ever been involved with. Normally, if you want the best price, you at least find 3, as many as you can. You go out, and until you find another, hopefully, you don't just accept the price that the one guy gives you. And that one bid was from a company called AST Roselle. We'll get into who that is in a little bit. They're subcontractors, NETA Architects. The guys who originally designed the concept plan were part of the team who are now automatically going to build this thing. In February last year, Borough designated them the redeveloper. In March of this year, they signed an official redevelopment agreement. In there, it specifies the project cost is $52.5 million. So the bonding of $59 million is above that in case of overrun, things like that. And then again, just in April, a month ago, they had this groundbreaking. So what has the former mayor said regarding this project? A lot of the reason they talk about building this is he says, why can't Roselle have nice things like Elizabeth, Linden, Rahway, or Cranford? And like I said, this isn't about whether or not Roselle deserves nice things. But Elizabeth, Linden, and Rahway are cities. The population of Elizabeth is 130,000. We have 22,000 people here. Right? We're not a city. Like we said, the median income in Roselle is about $43,000. In Cranford, it's about $110,000 for a family. So they can afford these things. Right? It's not whether we deserve it, it's whether we can afford it. Like I said, the original tax increase was supposed to be $149.
It's up to 300.
At the freeholder meeting, when they had to convince Union County freeholders to guarantee the bonds for us, he said that we used to spend about $1.2 million every year to outsource our garbage. And he said we no longer do that. That payment will now be redirected to this new Minded Body complex. The cost of this is about $312. Right, so if we're redirecting a payment we used to give to someone to collect our garbage, we still have to collect our garbage. Right, we're still paying in-house to collect our garbage. So that money didn't just, somehow be redirected and, go away. And then just last week, there was an education summit. The Board of Ed, the superintendent had an education summit. He got up and the first words out of his mouth were the naysayers and negative people will say, well, we're raising taxes. And that's not the case, he said. Now, he's admitted it's either $149, $312 in tax increase. So how can you tell people that's not the case? It blows my mind. And they keep saying we're redirecting money, but they really don't give the facts. So let's continue. The numbers don't lie. You can go get the information yourself if they don't want to give it up. These are the lease agreements that we're currently paying St. Joe's and Shim's Academy. They've quoted it as we're paying $700,000 out of Roselle. Let's direct the money in-house. The total is $578,000. So that's an exact number we know.
Okay.
Keep going. DPW, they said we're going to save, either $500,000 or $1.2 million payment. In 2013, the DPW budget, before we took garbage in-house, was about $3.7 million. This year, it's $5 million. So, I don't think we're saving money. In 2013, we had roughly 15 full-time workers in DPW. Now we're up to 45, plus 20 part-time workers. Each of them gets benefits, right? That's an additional cost that's not shown directly in the DPW budget. So just if you take the numbers alone, we're losing, not gaining, $500,000 a year, plus the cost of benefits. So my estimate is we're likely losing about $1 million a year since we brought DPW in-house. And really my question is for what? Because most people have said it's worse service. We're down to 1 bulk pickup a month from 2. Most people's garbage schedules are all mixed around and they don't know when things go out. So people are confused. They see garbage cans tossed up on their front lawns. And they wonder what this money is going towards. And that number, it didn't include the startup cost, right? We had to buy trucks. We had to buy equipment. Just this year, we added $700,000 in debt for DPW equipment. But here's what's most shocking to me. In the 2014 budget, it shows what we spent in 2013, what we spend, or what we're budgeting for in 2014. And to me, the number should have popped out to the council people right away. Right? Our solid waste collection went down. Great. We're no longer making that payment to Roselli, who used to collect our garbage. But salaries and wages in the DPW went up almost $1 million. Other expenses in the DPW went up $300,000. Maintenance of vehicles, because yes, we buy the vehicles, we also have to maintain them. That goes up. So immediately in that first year, we were losing $400,000. You would think someone would say, maybe we're not going to gain, that extra $500,000 and save it. And then we're losing money every day right now. We haven't had a full-time superintendent in DPW since January of last year. That means we're out of compliance with the state, and the state is fining us every single day. So that's another $30,000 or so in fees that we've, wasted away. Goes back to wasteful spending. So let's look at that community impact fee that they said we're going to get from the golf course project. If you look at the numbers that they originally planned out for that, you see once phase 1 is completed, which is basically what they have built now, we get $92,000 a year. And we're only up to $326,000 once all 5 phases are built, which I don't think is happening anytime soon, right? So when we're stuck with the payment for mind and body complex, we're not going to have $326,000 available from this project. We have phase 1 built right now. We maybe are going to get phase 2, so maybe $130,000. Let's go next. So what we're seeing are a lot of alternative facts. Right? They fed us numbers to sell us the project, make it sound great, $150 a year. Who wouldn't want a new school and a new recreation center for that? So what are the real costs? We've already said there's $59 million in bonds that are being put out for this project. 35 of that is for the community center, 24 million for the early childhood center. But that's just the principal, right? When you pay things back, there's interest. So depending on what interest rate they get on these bonds, the total cost, if it's only a 2% interest rate, it's over 79 million over the next 30 years that we have to pay. If it's up to 4% or even beyond, you wind up paying over $100 million over the next 30 years. So that's the real number to keep in mind. The 59 is even less than what we're actually paying back. And based on numbers that they were providing originally in 2015, my estimate is that they're probably going to get around 3.35% interest rate. So I went through the numbers with that interest rate in mind. That gives a borrow payment of about $1.9 million a year that we're going to have to make, a lease payment to Union County Improvement Authority, and the Board of Ed is going to have to make a payment of about $1.3 million. And we're leasing, right? We don't own these facilities until the lease is paid off in 30 years. So if we look, we do a side-by-side, numbers today versus the numbers that they fed us in 2013. And if you look through that, the Board of Ed cost, where they said we're redirecting this money, the lease is still $700,000 more than it is today for St. Joe's and Shims, so more than double they're paying today. We're not just redirecting, we're redirecting and then doubling. That community impact fee, we're assuming is going to be less than they were assuming. And then obviously, garbage from DPW was $1 million a year loss. So we're just going to ignore that. And my estimate came out that if it's that 3.35%, that it's about $380 a year on your taxes. If the interest rate is higher, it could be over $400 a year on your taxes. And that's just to build the facilities. What costs aren't they accounting for yet? Right at the end of 9th and Chandler, there's a big red house. The borough needs to buy that land and that house before this project moves forward. They can do eminent domain, or they're supposed to attempt to buy it. But that cost isn't accounted for in the 59 million. What about construction delays? Construction that goes over budget. That never happens, right? What about outfitting the complex? So this is pulled directly from the redevelopment agreement they signed in March. And it specifies very particularly that as part of the cost of work, that $59 million doesn't include interior design, artwork, library stacks and equipment, furnishings and office equipment, telephone devices, computers, fitness equipment, classroom furniture, security stuff.
Swimming pool,
Personnel.
swimming
Right.
pool.
So none of that's included in this cost. And what about operating the facility? You build it, you have to operate it, staff, insurance on the big pool they're gonna have, maintenance and utilities. So we still don't have a full picture of what this thing is gonna cost per year, right? They tell us it's $312, it's likely more just to build it. Once you have to factor in operating it, it just keeps going up. right? You've got other borough resources that get strained, garbage, things like that that go up, repaving streets in that area, higher traffic. And then you're gonna have to pay to use the facilities, right? You don't build a community center and, every resident just goes in for free. Your kids wanna be in programs, swimming team, things like that. You're gonna have to pay to be using that facility. So who's getting paid now?
Who's getting paid?
Who's getting paid now?
No.
That's a good question. So since April 2014, people have been getting paid for this project, whether it's lawyers, architects. It's well over, you can see it in the middle, who's been paid hundreds of thousands of dollars. And what I have on the side here are campaign contributions. So almost every company or law firm that's involved on this project has put money into the pockets of former Mayor Holly, Senator Lesniak, the freeholders, the Union County Democratic Committee, Board of Ed members, and people on the Roselle Council, right? Since '91, Dakota's law firm, $258,000 in campaign contributions. Well, just on this one project alone, they've already made $127,000. They're gonna make a ton more. That makes sense for them. In the state of New Jersey, they've pumped in $3.5 million since then. The state of pay-to-play here in Union County and Roselle specifically is outrageous. But who's getting paid the most? AST Roselle. I told you we'd come back to them. In the contract, the redevelopment agreement, they immediately get 10% of the maximum price right off the top. $5.9 million is theirs. If they come in under budget on this project, they immediately get 50% of the cost savings. But who is AST Roselle?
Yeah.
They're a subsidiary of AST Development out of Lavalette. And if you look at their website, they basically say over the last several years, they don't even do construction anymore. They said we focus now on real estate because that's their true area of expertise. They're a real estate development and investment company. And AST Development is owned by a guy named Robert DeAnton, who just so happens to have made a $1,000 donation to Board of Ed candidates in 2012. Candidates who, once they won that election, were the ones who voted on whether or not the Mind and Body Complex was going to move forward. He just so happened to donate $5,000 to our freeholders in October, about a month after they guaranteed the bonds for this project to move forward, right? So the guy who stands to gain $6 million, all he has to do is, give about $6,000 in campaign contributions to make his money. So where are we at now, right? This was the original plan. This is the most up-to-date plan in the redevelopment agreement. The community center shrunk by quite a bit because they had to put in a retention basin. Parking lot shrunk. And this is inside. The recording studio's not gone. They're going to keep that. Right? You still have your gym, your big pool. You've got two-story fitness center, Roselle Social Services. So this is from February, a concept drawing that I saw. It still didn't look final. But I want to talk specifically about the library because they keep saying, we need a great new modern library. In the original concept, the library was this big first floor attraction with a balcony, a total of 17,000 square feet. Today, the library's been squished to the second floor. It's this little sliver, about 5,500 square feet, which is the same size as the current library.
Wow.
So, maybe they've updated that since then. That's from February. Hopefully they've done something better with the library. But the story's changed since the original drawings. So where are we at now? A month ago, they had this groundbreaking, great photo op, golden shovels. They shipped in a big backhoe for 2 days that sat there, cut down trees across the street to make it look real pretty. They've got this sign up there now that says coming soon in 2018, which I can tell you is an absolute lie, right? And it's on paper, right there for everyone to see. Just last month, the Board of Ed, where we're currently at, They signed the lease agreement, but what they need for that lease agreement to be in effect is a waiver from the Commissioner of Education and the local finance board to basically allow them to enter into a 30-year lease. New Jersey law doesn't let boards of education do long-term leases like that, right? It's illegal. They need to get that waiver. So without that, this project, in my eyes, doesn't move forward. The county is supposed to be closing on the bonds within 90 days of March 30th. And then right in the document, they show a timeline for this project. And the redeveloper estimates it's going to take at least 24 months from the day they put the first shovel in the ground to finish. 24 months from now is not coming soon in 2018. So that puts us, if they started knocking those trees down tomorrow, into the middle of 2019 at best. So, you know, again, I'll say it's not a matter of whether we deserve this project. Our kids need the school space. I wish I had that community center. I've lived here all my life. I want to see it done. You know, what we wanted to do was give everyone here information because, you know, if people are in their homes paying taxes and don't know what their taxes are going towards, it's not a good thing, right? And if this is supposedly some great project that everyone in the borough is interested in completing and happy to pay more for, that's fine. If you leave here and you think this is well worth your tax dollars, that's fine. But at least you have the information now that you can make that educated decision. So that's where we're at now.
And empower you. Did we not say that? Let's give Brandon a round of applause for that information. Days and days of research. A lot of work went into that, and so thank you so much. We were working late nights. So now we know what's happening. It doesn't look good.
Scary.
It's not fair. But we're not here to scare you. We're here to inform you. And we have to know what's happening today so that we can avoid it from happening in the future. You got to know where you're coming from to know where you're going. And so we wanted to make sure that after we share that information, we talk about what change looks like. All right, Einstein says that it's insanity to do the same thing over and over and expect different results. We've got to do things differently. We've got to stop voting in people who are not doing things in our best interest. We got to cut this game of pay to play. We've got to cut this injustice that's happening to our residents when it comes to taxes. Now, I know that there are others who are doing things that affect us in a negative way. But we play a role too. Accountability is so important. And Bob Proctor has said, and he's a master consultant for organizations to define strategies. He says accountability is the glue that ties commitment to results. And so we have to hold our elected officials accountable for what's happening here in the borough of Roselle. Do you agree with that? Yes. And most importantly, we have to hold each other accountable. Because what it's going to take to move forward is for us to be re-engaged. I have gone from home to home talking to people, and a lot of people are discouraged about what happens. And they feel like nothing can be done. But we can't throw in the towel. We have to get back into the game. We have to start moving our community forward, and we can do it together. The elected officials are only as strong as the people who is supporting them. And so if I were to get into office, I don't have a magic wand. But if we start showing up at these meetings, because I'm on the planning board, and I just got on in January, and no residents come out to see what's happening in these meetings. Major decisions are being made that affects us. But I also know that transparency isn't happening. And I would make sure that it's the same way we walk around and hand out campaign flyers, we're walking around handing out schedules for some of these meetings because not everybody is online and on computers. And so we have to hold not only the elected officials accountable, but we have to hold each other accountable to make sure we're working together to move Roselle forward. And in that, it's important for people to know that our vote cannot be bought. This is an event that's happening at Oak Park, and it's for Oak Park residents only. And it's a family fun day and barbecue. And if you live in Oak Park, I encourage you to go eat the food. Have the hamburgers and the hot dogs, the juice and the water. But nothing, and I mean nothing, and no bouncy house, no food, no water, no juice is going to stop us from restoring democracy here in Roselle. And that's what this is about. So I want to touch on a little bit the Democratic Committee, and I'm going to call Brandon up in a second. The Democratic Committee is super important to the political process. They're a group of elected people who represent the various districts in each ward, and they're supposed to have their hand on the pulse of the people. And then they go and they make and vote for the right candidate who can best represent their area, their district within each ward. The current Democratic Committee hasn't met in 2 years. So where did the democratic process happen for you to understand and have a chance for the people you put in place to make a decision about who would be best for you and your ward and your district? That is critical. That is robbing us of our right to due process. And so we have a number of committee people who are standing up, residents from the wards, who's out there walking the wards, talking to the residents, who are residents themselves and who are outraged by what they've seen. And they decided to stand up and fight for this borough.
That's right.
And I want you to give them a round of applause, and I would like all of my First Ward Committee people to come up. Please, First Ward. In fact, all committee people, just come up. Because this is not about me and Cynthia. This is about you being involved in the process. I need all the Second Ward Committee people to come up. In fact, all committee people for the sake of time. Let's come quickly. I want people to see what democracy looks like.
This is what democracy looks like.
Cynthia Johnson, who will be the councilwoman for the 3rd Ward. Come on up, Cynthia. She doesn't like all the fanfare, but we love you and we appreciate you. Get in the middle. This is what democracy looks like, for what is right for this borough. And we thank you all for your ability and your commitment to this community to stand up. And although we are all the way on column G, that's where progress is for Roselle. So you're going to have to take a few extra minutes and look across that ballot and find these great people who want to fight for us. Give them a round of applause. Thank you, guys. Thank you. So yes, we're running for office. There's no surprise. We could be trying to give away hamburgers and hot dogs and water and all that stuff. But today we decided to take what pennies we had, because this is grassroots. It doesn't get any more grassroots than this. We don't have anybody lining our pockets. But we decided that it was worth it to get you here, to give you the information you need. How many of you feel like you have more knowledge than when you walked in? That is worth it. Whether that is worth it alone, because it really is. We know that knowledge is power, and you have the right to make educated, informed decisions about how those that are in office now are serving you and whether or not you think people are good enough to serve you in the future. Okay? But as we're going to go into a portion that I think is most important, because any candidate that's running, and I know that I'm running to represent you, how can I do that if I haven't heard your concerns? I am not. I'd like to think I'm pretty intelligent, but I'm not the smartest person in the room. Our residents have many great ideas on how to move things forward, and half the time those ideas are cost effective and won't cost us much. And so we're going to go into a portion in a moment that talks about, that gives you a space to raise your concerns, okay? But first up, I want to give respect to our current mayor, Mayor Christine D'Angelo, and give her a chance to say.
Thank you so much. Thank you all for coming out here tonight. This is very exciting. You know, entering into the final portion of my second year, some of you I know have known this has been an incredibly challenging 2 years. But one of the things when people said to me, what are one of your visions as mayor before you leave office? And it was to make sure that the best possible people here in our borough represent you. It is no longer acceptable to have folks that take on a position that have no desire to do the homework, the research, before they vote on major issues that affect our lives. And so as I've gone through this borough over 11 years in office, and I've rolled up my sleeves and worked hard and met so many phenomenal people, some of which, by the way, would do very well up here as council, committee, or mayor, or Congress people, but for whatever reasons, they can't give that time in that way. They give it in other ways. But the people right here tonight, I can tell you beyond a shadow of a doubt that are here, the committee people, our first and third ward candidates, are people that not only have been doing the job without a title for a very long time, but will continue to do the job. They will not just bob their head and say yes. I can tell you from experience after sharing through monthly meetings since November with the community, it's called Conversations with the Community with the Mayor, that I have learned so much from this community and shared a lot of the truths. You may want hot dogs and hamburgers, but I believe what we need is truth. And that truth that I've shared over the last number of years has sometimes gotten me in political hot water. But I can't do anything but tell the truth. I couldn't sleep at night, I couldn't look at myself in the mirror. So I have shared for some time some of the issues that we are facing. When we're speaking about your commitment, your energy, your desire to get involved in projects that are going to impact this community, and that truth is not shared with you, then the people who are representing you are doing you a disservice. I now know that we have the start of something phenomenal, something I only hoped and prayed for, is now happening. We now have, looking at this room, exactly what we need. Proactive people, people ready to roll up their sleeves, people to hold us accountable, people who want answers, they don't want answers. So, thank you for being here. Please, please vote column G and allow me to sleep well at night knowing that the information that has been given out, researched, is going to people that are going to use it in effective ways to make sure this borough not just survives, but thrives in the future. That's a big difference. Thank you so much. God bless.
Thank you so much, Mayor. Thank you for coming out tonight. She too gets a chance to hear your concerns. And I mean that. This is the most important part of this evening, is to hear your concerns. And so we don't have fancy equipment, so the cord isn't long. But I would love, if you have anything that you want to share, anything that you believe should happen in Roselle, come on up. We got one first. Come on. He's coming from the back.
Thank you. My name is Louis Bedrock. I live on 739 Harrison Avenue, right across from the proposed disaster. When I moved here in '86, my monthly taxes were $100 a month. That was one of the reasons, in addition to Warrenico Park and the charming population, that I moved to Roselle. My taxes are now close to $700 a month. I don't see anything that has justified that sevenfold increase in taxes. I want to add one important information to the excellent report given by the engineer, which I thought was just terrific.
Yes.
And exactly what we needed to hear. I estimate that this project would require cutting down between 100 and 150 trees.
Talk about it.
Each tree stores approximately 100 gallons of water. I don't know whether you're aware of this, but I was talking to people in Department of Public Works who were unblocking the sewage system, and they informed me that our sewage system was built by the Romans about 200 years before Jesus. 2 years ago, when we had heavy rains, I had to spend a couple $1,000 putting in something called a stop valve that prevents sewage from backing up into my basement after my basement was flooded twice. So that is an additional piece of information. In addition to cutting down the trees and all the extra water that's going to be put into the ground, there are going to be toilets and showers and I don't know what else, but they're going to have to spend more money on the infrastructure or my neighborhood is going to be underwater. Sometimes it already is. Thank you very much for your time. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much for sharing.
Thank you. I'm Bob White. I live on East 2nd Avenue. I've lived there. I'm 67 years old. I've lived there for 60 years, my wife and I. We've seen our property taxes go astronomically high, as all of you have, to the point where we almost can't afford it. It's ridiculous. This project for this park and swimming pool is nice. It's a nice idea, but it can't be afforded by us people. We cannot afford these tax increases for this project. The project for the golf course renovation, I drive past there every time I try to go to Pinho's Bakery. I drive past there. There's not a house that I can see, not an apartment I can see that has been leased as of yet. Not one apartment that has been leased. And who's going to pay the taxes for those people? They're not going to pay all the taxes. It's ridiculous. We're driving ourselves to the brink of bankruptcy. And we got to stop it. We got to stop it now. Thank you.
I agree with you. We have to stop it now. And just a disclaimer, so we presented the information that we did research on. And we're going to talk about things tonight that, you know, we haven't done the fact checking on. But we can. And so if there's something like, you know, he's saying that the Park Apartments hasn't leased any apartments, they may or may not have, I'm not sure, I haven't done any research on it. But if we want to know, we can. And you can actually go in and look at some of the units as well. So we have to start, you know, being involved and making sure that they know we want to check out what you're doing in this town. So I just wanted to put that disclaimer here, but I think it's a valuable point he raised. But as we move through the comment section, we presented what we did the research on. Anything else, we will be happy to do it if we need to.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Carrie Napoleon. I'm a lifelong resident here in Roselle. And what I have in my hand, former board member as well. What I have in my hand, and my passion is the Board of Education, because I have children in this district. That's right. And I'm a product of the school system, so my passion is definitely the Board of Ed. But what I have in my hand is the lease agreement that the Board of Ed voted on a couple of weeks ago. First of all, my hurt is that I asked some of the board members, did they even read this agreement before they read on it, before they voted on it, and they told me no. So you put 9 people on the board who say that they're for our children, and they're not even doing the research to make sure that they do what's right for our children. So that's a problem in itself. But I want to kind of piggyback off of what Brandon said. And Brandon, thank you for the research, because you added some things that I researched. And I will research the hell out of something for you. What I have in my hand is what I want you guys to understand. Is that, yes, your taxes may go up $300 or $400, but that's only on the municipal side. You didn't even think about the Board of Ed side, because they're going to raise your taxes too. And in this lease agreement, Article 5 on page 14 says, the final terms of the bond should be as set forth in the bond resolution, provided that the principal amount of bond shall not exceed $24 million, and the term of the bond shall not exceed 35 years, and provided further that the principal amount, term, and specific debt service of the bond shall be approved in writing by the Board of Education. The Board of Education shall include all rentals with the Board of Education's tax levy growth limitation, and such inclusion will not result in the need for approval by the voters as provided in NJSA 18A20-4. Do you guys understand what that means? That says that they can raise your taxes without even letting you know, as long as they take this money and use it for the rental property for the mind and body complex. And the law says that if they go above 2%, they have to come to you to vote on it if they want to raise the taxes more than 2%. But if the taxes is above 2% and they're using it for the rental, they don't have to tell you. Wow. They don't have to tell you. So what I'm here to tell you tonight, first of all, I encourage you to open this from the Board of Education so you can read it for yourself. Also, what Brandon and what I found in the redevelopment agreement, because I have that as well, is that there's initial $50,000 startup costs that the board in the borough has to pay. Wow. And guess what? That's not included in the $59 million that they're bonding out. Wow. And they have to keep replenishing that fund.
Wow.
So they're paying more than just the $59 million.
They're paying 7 attorneys.
Exactly. And I encourage you to get this. I definitely encourage you to get this. And I also want to encourage you to come out to the Board of Education meetings and hold those individuals, those 9 people that you voted for, accountable to start reading what is put before them and stop listening to what somebody else is telling them to do and have a mind of their own. Thank you.
So we would love to have you on board, and anyone else who wants to participate in research and community work. Next, I want to call up Archange. Yes, come on. He's a member of the board.
Thank you, Denise. My name is Archange Antoine. I've been in residence for Roselle for 20-something years, and I'm on the school board. And I agree with the sentiment. If you go, we don't have enough people who are coming to the Board of Education. But more importantly, instead of just coming, it's important that you're getting the information and you're asking and you're requesting the information. That's the most important thing. At our last meeting, at our budget meeting, I was the one that was the bad guy. Because I was the one saying, we haven't received any information about this project. And more importantly, for the last 5 years, we've been doing a runaround because the plans have been changing. Like the great presentation he said, initially we said it was only supposed to be the equivalent of what we were spending to lease. And then that number jumped and that number jumped. And let me just be very clear with you and everybody in this room. There's a crisis right now on the Board of Education. In less than a year's time, we have a superintendent who resigned. We have an assistant superintendent resign, and recently we just received a resignation letter from our business administrator, who is the first woman in the history of Roselle to be in that position, who is competent. And the reason why I believe that they're resigning, and based on some of the conversation, is because they can't put their name on this project that's happening because they know it's not good for our town. And so this is what we have to make sure that we don't get caught up in. It's that this is for our kids. I mean, some people will kill somebody and say this is for our kids and hope that you will believe that. And we have to be smart enough to not believe that everything, quote unquote, is for our kids. Because if you are really for our kids, you will not put our town in the debt that it's about to be in right now. Like Anthony said, our town, if we went the right way, we could have qualified up to 60% of matching funds. And why? The reason why people don't want the funds to match is because they want to make the biggest bang for their dollars. And the people who are making the most money don't live in this town, they don't care about this town, and they don't give a damn about anybody here. So if you're going to come to this meeting, it's okay that you're coming in for the information. It's okay that you're trying to learn the candidates. But more importantly, you have to look at your pocket, you have to look at your wallet, and you have to get pissed off that people are coming to our town telling us what the hell to do and begging around with your money. And if you're not going to be angry, you're not going to be pissed, and you're not going to walk out of here and say you want to do something about it, then maybe this is not part of you. But deep down in your soul, if you know there's something about you that says, I don't like people taking advantage of me, I don't like people using me, I don't like people using my kids to justify their own personal greed, then you need to stand up, get behind Cynthia, get behind Denise, get behind all the people that are organizing, and you need to contact your friends and say, don't just vote the line, but vote for the people that you know you can hold accountable. So again, I'm ending this by saying I could go on and on and on about all the corruption that's happening in the Board of Education, how people are hiring people who are not qualified, how we have too many administrators, that the county is telling us we have too much. For the first thing that people did in their presidency, the first thing somebody did in their presidency was modify something that Anthony Esposito, when I was president, put him on to make sure that our health care was protected. And what they did, they modified it. We had the highest health coverage jump in like the state of New Jersey. Why? Because people were making their friends the money. So if you're leaving this project, and I'm being sincere with you, being very sincere with you, the reason I joined the Board of Education is because I wanted to see my classroom change, the classroom that I graduated from. And I'm saying that all of us have to be personally committed. Before you walk out this room, you have the list of 10 voters that you know you're going to personally reach out to and tell them about what you heard today, and you're going to tell them where to vote. It's not just thank you for the information. I need everybody to commit to, put your hands up if you could commit to 10 people you will tell to come out and vote, because this is what we need. And they want you to be tired. They want you to be frustrated. They want you to be mad. And they want you to curl up in your house and sit there and just cry and take it. But God has given us a voice. He's given us feet. And there's people who don't have the ability to be here. And I'm asking you, I'm encouraging you to not give up. Keep the fight.
Just before anyone else, I just want to say there's sandwiches, cookies, things in the back. I know no one's eaten yet, so before everyone else comes up and talk, feel free. There's drinks, everything back there. The other thing that I've just been thinking about here is, I bet everybody in this room knows that Donald Trump fired James Comey. Yes. And I bet you don't know what happened at the last council meeting. Yeah, right. One thing, is a good story on CNN to watch at night. The other thing's affecting what's in your pocket. So you have to get involved locally. I mean, I'll let Arcane do the huge pep talk. That was great. But what's going on right here, the people that are being elected right here are the ones directly impacting you. So, as much fun as it is to watch Donald Trump implode, get involved here, see what's going on here, but please eat.
Yes.
I just have one announcement. Most of you have signed our petition. We've been running around with this for the past 2.5 years, my husband and I. So if you didn't sign this petition, we hope you would like to. It's to stop the pipeline from coming through past all of those schools that we're talking about. They're in the most dangerous zone. Would be Washington School, and it goes as far as, if you follow the trail there, it goes as far as it'll be Wilday, it'll be Roselle Catholic, and it goes, and then it makes a turn. So if you follow that, you'll know where the pipeline is going. But anyway, if you haven't signed this, would you please sign it?
Okay, we will make sure that's available in the back. So,
hi, my name is Lorraine Brooks Body. I've been here ever since 1962, a graduate of Abraham Park High School. I served a term on the board. My husband was part of the Democratic Party. He was very active, but just one point about the golf course. golf course used to pay in property tax $800,000. And the reason I know that, one of my coworkers, his father was one of the 100 men that owned that facility. And it saddens me that, looking at the numbers, and it was a really great presentation, that is not happening. So we're losing, that kind of money for a 30-year abatement. But also in my ward, I live in Ward 2, and I see a lot of homes, one-family homes going up. That developer also got a tax abatement. And I believe it's 5 years, what somebody told me the other day. Looking at the Roselle golf course called The Park, they have 190 apartments, supposedly supposed to be rented by January. Out of that, probably 132 are two-family, and the others are one-family. And again, I asked that one bedroom and two bedroom, that's what I meant to say. And they're ranging from $1,800 up to like $2,600, with a $500 fee, monthly fee they have to pay. Then there's $100 if you have a pet. There's another couple $100 for a garage. You got to pay to use the facility. So it is a lot. I asked the superintendent at the meeting the other night, did he have a number on what impact that would have on the school district? He said the board members told him there would be no impact on the Board of Ed. I asked an elected official, I said, I have this article dated August 16th. It says that my property taxes are going to increase $312. I was told by the elected official, he was in a Trump mode. Don't believe what you read. But again, I have a problem with an elected official that's not like us paying property tax. He rents an apartment. I live on 926 Harrison Avenue. My parents bought this two-family house in 1962. As of this year, my property taxes are what that 35 unit is. I pay $15,000 in property tax. I'm 65 years old. I'm waiting to retire. I have to rethink this whole thing. But again, we have to wake up. Anthony, I know you thought I would never say this. Anthony and I were on the board together. Anthony and I used to be on finance together. When we sat in finance, how many hours, Anthony? 2 hours in a finance meeting? We used to go line by line. This board you have now, they don't even open their packets. Anthony, I wanted to kick his butt when he said we go to iPads, because then our agenda comes on that and everybody will read it. They all have iPads. They don't even bring them. You see them with the envelope and it's still open. The other thing, I'm on a steering committee. We have 145 kids every year. We do Breakfast of Champions. We move it to Kane College. That costs $7,000, and Dr. West used to find the money. So every kid is able to bring two parents. Had a board member to question, why are we spending $7,000 on our top students to give them a breakfast that the district can't do because it was chaos when we had it there. So again, that's why it's important to go to the board, because this breakfast is very important. If they can spend the money they're spending here, they definitely can spend $7,000 to have 500 people get a chance to go to Kane, and they also tour the Kane, tour Kane. But that's not all. We have to, we know what's happened to us. We have to become more involved. If you can't go, 5 of you go this time, and you develop a schedule and bring it back to your group, because we love living in this town. It's good access. If I went to get a one-bedroom apartment, it's going to cost me $1,600. I'm right back to the same number. But I see all you here concerned. You have to be aware of who you're electing. And I'm really tired of people telling us that they're going to reduce our property taxes. And for the last 10 years, every time somebody talks to us, we're going to reduce it. And then they tell us that our students are failing. Guys, we all sit here, we know it hasn't reduced our property tax. It's getting crazy. How many architects and engineers? There was Garrett with the thing over there by Chet and Johns that we all sat and thought that was going to happen. Now we in Mind and Body. I know why they didn't build a high school there. They didn't build a high school back in my day because it was on the wrong side of town. So that's the truth. And it sat idle all this time, but I'm going to end this and say we have to get involved. Form a team, and then come back and report to your team so you can hear what's going on. And don't let them say that Roselle's failing our kids. I know they're not. It's not that. You look on your property tax, how many little boxes do we have? Municipal, we're paying for a library. I asked the, elected official, what's this library tax I pay? Oh, that's for the county. Okay, where does that money go that we pay every quarter out of our taxes? Some people don't even read the little columns. The school board's not the greatest thing. You add all those numbers, we should have a say-so in the freeholders and everything. If they could build a dog park in Echo Lake that we paid for, all the construction at Union County College is coming out of the county dollars, we do have a voice. But I don't think we're using it. We're tired. But we gotta pump it up, because it's our money. But thank you.
Thank you so much for that. Let us know. I want us to know, and just to take a minute to give our own energy, because I've heard a couple of times, we're tired. We are tired, but we're encouraged. And so our voices, and I want you to repeat after me. Our voices. Our voices. And I need them to know the energy we have. Our voices. Our voices. Will be heard. Our voices 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 will be heard. I'm encouraged. You be encouraged too.
Let's thank Denise for what she's doing here today, and Cynthia Johnson as well. My name is Cecilia Dallas Ricks. Many of you know me as I've served in several capacities. I've been a Girl Scout leader. I've been on the Board of Education. I've been on the council for 6 years. I've always been on line A. I have been a Democratic first vice chair, second vice chair, third vice chair, whatever kind of chair you could be. I always refused to be the chairman because I never wanted to work with the county chair, because y'all know how she was. I'm just saying. So I didn't want to have that responsibility. However, ladies and gentlemen, election day is not the only day you can vote.
That's right.
I don't want to hear that it rained.
Right.
Okay? I don't want to hear it rained on election day. You can go vote tomorrow if you want.
Yeah.
If you want, you can request a vote by mail and you can get it for your next door neighbor. You can get it for your mother-in-law, your sister-in-law, your father-in-law. Some of you are traveling. I already voted. And I voted on line G. Like I said, as a council member, I was on line A all the time. I just find it odd that they always get line A. Oh, I don't know how that happens, but that always happens. I was on line A.
Come on now.
Let's just say a couple of times, I'm a plus size girl. And the vendors like to feed you, and I like to eat. So I go eat every time the vendor want to feed me. On the Board of Ed, when I was with Anthony, I told the vendors we needed a cafeteria, we needed funding. Aramark took me to lunch, fed me their $50 lunch. Lady told me what she was going to give me. And when I finished eating my $50 lunch, I looked up and told her what we wanted. And she turned around and gave me what we wanted, not what she wanted to give me. Some years later, I was sitting on the council, and Mrs. Devaney of the Golf Course Project met me after work to feed me. And when she finished telling me what she wanted for Roselle, I looked at her and I said, I can't support that project. This was when none of you knew anything about this project. And after I finished eating my little appetizers, because I'm a plus size girl and I like to eat, I left. That's the last time I saw column A. I'm just saying. I would not support the project, no matter how many times it came back to me, because I knew we could not afford the golf course project. As a member of the Board of Education, the school district was 65% overcrowded. Some of our children go out to the magnet school. Some of our children go to the choice school because Kenilworth doesn't have enough kids in their classroom. People ask me, why did my kids go to Kenilworth? Because they had a math class of 15 kids versus a math class of 30. That's then. And I don't think that the classroom sizes have diminished. So now you're going to bring in over 900 units times 5 is what they were initially talking about. Times 5. Where are those kids going? We can't afford it. We can barely afford our fire department. As a member of the council, I know that we are a whole, is it called battalion? When it's one group? We're a whole battalion short of what we should be. So now you're going to bring in another 900 units times 5 initially. And we can't afford to hire more firemen. Are we going to have less fires with more houses? We can't afford more police officers. You don't want to promote as it is. You don't want to hire as it is. We cannot afford these projects. We cannot afford not to vote. What happens when we get the same people over and over again, the disgusted people, don't go vote. If you are disgusted, get up tomorrow. I see some of y'all are seniors like me. I embrace it now. I got my AARP card and I relish the discounts. Get up tomorrow after you finish watching The Price is Right. Go down to the courthouse, go see the county clerk, and tell her you want to vote. You do not have to wait for election day to vote. Please give your neighbors vote by mail applications. If you are tired of being harassed about voting, vote by mail. It is the simplest process. You just got to make sure you sign your name the same exact way you signed it in the book, or they'll send it back to you. I know from experience. But vote by mail and vote column G. Yes. You don't have to vote all the way. And as I told people before, nice girls don't go all the way.
All right, thank you so much for that. We do have Miss Amy, who has been gracious to us throughout this movement, because it is a grassroots movement. She's been very gracious with us, and I don't want to be too far over time. So I'm going to ask everybody to keep their comments down to a minute, get to the point, and share, because I want to make sure that enough people get to say and state their concerns. And I see a lot of people here, and I want to make sure that they get a chance to speak. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. I'm Anthony Esposito, a resident since 1986. Paid like $2,000 a year taxes when I first moved here. I'm going to talk about the white elephant that's in the room here, or should I say the white donkey that's in the room. Because the town of Roselle votes habitually. They habitually vote for the regular Democratic Party of Union County. Because they're the real Democrats, right? Well, if they're the real Democrats of Union County, why is everything run like a communist party? The people have no say. The oligarchy, the few people at the top, tell everyone else what to do. They tell you how to vote. They create that column A with all their friends and cronies. They created the Holly tax team. Because in Roselle, that's exactly what it is. If you vote column A, you're voting for higher taxes. I went to the hearing for the budget. The budget's going up 3%. I'm paying almost 12,000. It's gonna be 12,000 after the budget increase, because just the municipality alone is going up 3%. So whatever you're paying now, you're gonna pay 3% more. And the Board of Ed raised their budget by 0.5%. Whenever you get those pretty flyers, all those pretty colored flyers in the mail, they coming from Joe Cryan, they're coming from Holly, they're coming from the Democratic Party of Union County, they're coming from the Roselle Democratic Party. Guess what? They were all paid for by all of those people who made the donations that are taking our money. They're taking our tax money. $100,000 a year, $200,000 a year going to the lawyers, architects. It's a big game. And in the words of George Carlin, it's a big game and you're not in it. Okay? You're not in it. So, when you go vote, don't press any buttons on column A, because it's going to be automatic tax hikes. Tax hikes, tax hikes. So please, column G, go to the lower right-hand corner of the ballot box. They tried to hide us. Column A is over here. Column G is all the way over here, and we're all the way at the bottom. You got to look for us. But we're worth looking for. So come out on election day and find the people in your district that are going to represent you. Not the people who are going to represent all the vendors that work for the borough. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. And I just want to say, too, that, you know, when I brought us here today, it really is about, A, informing and empowering the community, and you get to make your own decision, right? And then also letting you know that there are people who are willing to fight for you and to hear your voice. And so, yes, we are on column G when it comes to the local seats. And I'm not here, and I didn't want to give the spirit of condemning anyone else. I just want to make sure you know what's going on and who to choose that's going to fight for you. And that is on column G when we're talking about what matters for Roselle.
Tony began on 324, excuse me, East Fifth Avenue. A little bit of a sore throat. I just want to say that after being involved in a lot of campaigns over many years, going back to when Jimmy Carter, 76, ran for president, excuse me. So I've been involved in a lot of campaigns for a lot of years. In every election, from the president to the city council, committee people, every election is won or lost by the people who do not vote. You're talking 42% in a presidential election. That's a lot of people sitting home that are registered to vote that don't come out. And the reason a lot of them don't come out is they're not educated. They don't know what they're voting for or who they're voting for. So it's our job between now and June 6th to educate them, motivate them, make sure they don't sit home, because people will say, I'll vote, and they won't vote. Okay? They will do that. I've seen it in so many campaigns. You're expecting these numbers. Last point, very brief. You heard a lot about voting. In 2000, when John Corzine was on the ballot to run for the Senate, we were losing. I worked professionally in that. Most of what I did is volunteer. But I worked professionally in that campaign. What happened was we were down by 2.5% going into Election Day. We were behind Bob Franks. You know what made the difference? Contacting people between Sunday and Tuesday of Election Day to get enough people to the polls to vote for the Democratic candidate and a Democratic ticket. In this case, we don't want that to be column A, we want it to be column G.
Thank you so much. Is there anyone else who wants to be heard? And I want to hear about the things that bother. We're talking about big things, but that doesn't mean that I don't find the quality of life issues important. We know that there's a lot of speeding that happens, especially in that first ward, because this is important. When you're in the town and we're here and we're paying taxes and we're raising our family, quality of life is important. We know that there are towns that you know when you drive through, you slow down because you know that there's somebody waiting over there to pull you over. I want to make sure that people know when you come through Roselle, you better slow down for our children. We want to make sure that our streets stay clean. We want to make sure that this is a tree-lined, beautiful neighborhood like we want it to be. And so I want to encourage the audience, if you have softer things that you want to talk about, this is the place to talk about it. Because quality of life does matter, and that's what this is all about.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. It wouldn't be a meeting if I didn't get up and say something, so I'll just keep this very brief. I am in awe. I am in awe that so many people have come out and so many people are joining together in this election. This is what I have been fighting for and been hated for years. And it's a good thing. It's a wonderful thing. Just a couple things that I want to speak on in reference to the taxes and what people don't know. In this budget, in the municipal budget, there was a $500,000 insertion in the budget to pay debt service on the mind and body complex that we haven't even put a shovel in the ground for. Not only did it happen in the municipal budget, but it was a $300,000 insertion in the school budget. And one thing that you have to remember, it's the same money. You know, the municipality just writes a check for the Board of Education, and that's how they pay for everything that they need. So actually, they're dipping out of the same pot. So this year, we looked at $800,000 of set-aside money for a project that may never happen. There was an interesting article, and this is why I got up to speak, because everything is wonderful, but we need to know what we can do about it. There was an interesting article May 9th in the Star Ledger, and it is online on NewJersey.com, where the Attorney General, Chris Perino, and he is a friend to the room, we have talked to him before, he started a program, and the program is only until August. And the program is, they're offering a $25,000 reward for public corruption tipsters. And it's a two-pronged program. The program is, if you've worked for the municipality, if you've been on the Board of Education, if you know the inner workings, if you know that there were things that did not go according to the law, you can contact this program. You know, they have a whistleblower segment in it. And the segment just says, it's a three-pronged thing, and the segment just says that you can call, but to be eligible for a waiver of prosecution, a whistleblowing conspirator would have to meet a three-pronged test. You can't be an elected official. 2, you can't be the mastermind of the crime. And 3, you have to be the first one in the door to make the deal. So that's the whistleblower side. But even for private citizens, we all have information. I commend Brandon, if we can give him a round of applause, because I'm telling you, Brandon is awesome. I see Brandon in, how many years, Brandon, before you get your law degree and then you'll be the mayor of the town? You know, Brandon has a bright future. But everyone in the room, if you know, and I've been collecting data for years, and I've been talking about things for years. And don't think that I am not going to have a relationship with this program that Chris Perino is offering. Again, you can look for it online, and it's May 9th. And Rich and Arlene, I would definitely encourage you to apply, because you know where all the dead bodies are buried. All right, thank you, and have a good night.
Thank you so much. Just a show of hands, residents, who else wants to say a few words? Okay. Anyone else in the audience? Because, okay, and Rich. So, because I want to make sure, because oftentimes the average Joe gets forgotten. That's what they call us sometimes, right? And I want you to know that this space, this time and moment right here is for you. And I don't want us to be intimidated by others who are coming up, who have had positions. This is about you. And I encourage you, if there's something you want to say, that this is your moment. This is all about you today, okay? Next up, we're going to call Adenike. We'll give you a minute, and then we'll pass it to the mayor, please. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. I live on Chandler Avenue, and I just wanted to piggyback on something that Denise said not too long ago about people flying up and down the street. I was sitting in my car about to pull off a couple weeks ago in March, and I was hitting a head-on collision. I was not in motion, and I was just parked right outside of my house. And so, long story, you know, the man was texting and driving, and he was driving on the wrong side of the street, ran into my parking lot. My parking spot hit my car, my neighbor's house. Okay, so you make a claim with the insurance company. The first thing the insurance company told me is, well, guess what? You guys don't have any lines on the street, because they wanted to dispute my claim. So they said, you don't have any markings. That's what they call it, markings on the street. I didn't even know we had no markings because I wasn't thinking about that. Do you know that I rode all throughout my street, on the way to my daughter's school in Polk School, to KSA, and to Abraham Clark High School? Do you know that there's no markings on the road? Do you know that there's no sign on there's no paint on the ground that says stop? There's nothing that says slow down. Those things are very important. Your taxes are going up tremendously, and you can't even pay the road to get those bumps off of 9th Avenue. Okay, like, I don't want to have to always worry. The turbulence is horrible on 9th Avenue. There are no, you can't, like, if you go to the other side of town, if you go all the way on the other side of town, you can see the sign that says, like, stop. Before you get to the stop sign, it says stop, and there's like a little hump. You don't have that. And that's it. Those things are also important, and you have to really think about it. If my taxes are going up, you know, I at least want the street paid. You put, you know, these little shoebox houses in between houses. Can we do something with the streets?
Right. Public safety is definitely important. Mayor?
Thank you. I just wanted to say a quick thank you to the wonderful committee people and everybody who came and sent me that happy birthday video. When I was out of state, there was a death in our family, and I was not present at that last meeting, but it gave me such joy to see that. But we talked about what is being done, and at times we can always speak to something that's in process, but what I do want to let you know is that your dollars are being examined forensically by the state controllers that I brought in over 9 months ago. And the issue with Rona, which was not that information, because they went to administration first. There's 6 of them. They come here in suits, they go upstairs, they demand 3 to 4 years worth of documents, everything that is being spent over the last 3 years. But also what I gave them was all the information about Rona and also our superintendent. So they are doing their due diligence. So know that one of the reasons that it's so important that we see people like the committee people and like the people that are running for 1st and 3rd Ward, because these are people that encourage that kind of transparency. Whereas some of the other people I've been working with, you know, they just nod their heads, don't read a darn thing, including the contract I refused to sign for the mind and body, because it said if we spend under the amount of money that it'll be divided up the balance between the UCIA and the developer. And they didn't even read that. And I said, what? If we're paying the lease, why is that happening? So you have to read the documents. know that I'm doing that, know that Denise is doing that, know that Cynthia is doing it, know that Brandon is doing it. Everybody you see that has spoken, we now have people in this room, they're not Sylvia Turnage, nonstop are researching. So tomorrow night, okay, is a council meeting.
Yeah.
I know, and trust and believe, I've been through a lot the last couple of years, including rocks coming through my window for truth. But you gotta come periodically, send someone for you to represent, and don't be afraid to ask questions, you know, and to be a part of that. And to come back if the questions aren't answered. Okay, you don't have to wait 30 days, you can ask the questions beforehand, but you certainly can ask them at the meetings. And I also want to give a shout out to the senior citizens who represented this town phenomenally, the active seniors, when they stood up for everybody's rights here in Roselle, when their rights were being stripped from them, and they got up and they were elegant, they were intelligent, they did their homework, so God bless you all, and thank you for making me proud.
All right. Thank you so much, Rich. Okay.
Thank you, Denise, and thank you for this amazing assemblage here tonight. Rich Lenahan and Arlene and I have been involved in, we built the house here 42 years ago, and they're still living in it. And the town is an amazing town.
It is.
But some of the things that happen cannot be addressed just locally. They need to be addressed, as the mayor was just saying, at a state level. And some of the things that have happened in our town have happened at a state level, and has happened and has been stopped at the state level because of the community and other communities coming together, as it did 15 years ago when the M&E was going to run trains through our town, bringing garbage from New York City to Pennsylvania. Okay, and that got stopped because the state was forced to look at the contracts. I think the same thing can happen now with the mind and body. One of the things that they said when the M&E was going to run is a done deal. And so people say, well, it's a done deal. We've just heard the same thing regarding the mind and body, because we had a dozen golden shovels put in the ground to make this seem like it's a done deal. It's not a done deal. One of the things that has to happen, and is happening all over this country, and is happening throughout the state of New Jersey with Leonard Lance. Does anybody know Leonard Lance?
Yes.
And his people are coming to his town halls, holding his feet to the fire. Okay? One of the problems with the mind and body is that they don't have a town hall, because the people who are doing this are doing it behind the scenes. They're appointed people. The UCIA is an appointment of people who come together and put this deal together. It has to be approved at the state level by a group called the Local Finance Board. I have no doubt that if everybody who can write a letter in this room wrote a letter to that board, we would be finished as far as the mind and body. It would take a second look, it would put it on hold, and that's all we're asking, is to put it on hold and to look at those facts.
That's right.
Again. And one of the things we can do locally, though, and has to happen, and is a good time for it to happen, because at this time, communities are looking at the usual lines of how to vote. Column G is basically, as far as my point of view, is our only option.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for that, Rich, and I thank you for talking about it's not a done deal. Golden shovels and all. And we can demand that our questions are answered. We can demand that information is provided. We've got to organize. And that's a great segue into the call to action today. The call to action today is not just about the election, but what happens moving past June 6th. We have got to organize as a community. We have together, individually we are strong, but together we are stronger. And only when we're coming out in numbers and showing them that we will not stand silent will we be able to demand what we deserve. Right? Transparency. All right. So how we want to do that?
I'm already on there.
We have a couple of things here. The first is a sign-up sheet. We're going to reuse, we're grassroots, so we have to reuse some of the material we have. But we want everyone to sign up and leave their information here. And we're going to invite you to be a part of the movement, the community movement, to get and move Roselle forward. And we can only do this by organizing in a great way here in Roselle. And it's going to require work, but the payoff is huge. The other is a volunteer sheet. We have committee people and candidates running. We don't have large pocketbooks. There's no one donating into our campaigns. For sure, Cynthia and I are spending our own money. I've been in corporate America for over 20 years. I have my own business. Cynthia has her own business. We're donating and taking money from her family. And so we need whatever help we can get up until election time and even thereafter. And so there's a volunteer sheet there as well. Also, we've got work to do before we start really getting the answers we need and to get those people out who are doing us unjustly and making decisions that are impacting us financially in a negative way. But in the meantime, we have Kenneth Jones' wife. Lorraine, come on. I want you to come up for a second. Give her a round of applause. This is a family affair for us. We're not out here because, we just want to hold office. We want a better life for our family and our children. We have planted our roots down here in Roselle. We want to live the American dream. We want to transfer that American dream to our children so that they too can flourish. And so we know that it's going to take commitment from the entire family to do this. And she's a financial trainer, and she gives information on how to budget and how to, make good decisions that keep you financially sound. And she's going to be offering a free class where anyone can sign up and come to that class. All you need to do when you sign the sign-in sheet is put an asterisk by your name, and we'll know that you're interested in the free financial course. And she was kind enough to bring with us today a few tips on how to manage our money and be fiscally responsible. And so we thank you for that. Give her a round of applause. She's stepping up. Mrs. Jones is stepping up to help her community. All right. We did okay on time. We're wrapping up. We know that we are completely grateful for you guys taking the time out of your busy schedules to come and be with us. I hope that you found this useful. By a round of applause, let me know if you found this useful. And that's all we wanted to do, was to give you...
Our voices will be heard.
Yes, our voices will be heard. Our voices will be heard. Our voices will be heard. Yes, give that a round of applause. Yes.
It's so important to understand the power within you. You are more powerful than they may make you believe. But if you're silent, you lose your power. You lose what you don't use. So everybody can do something. Everybody has a talent to get. If you can't go walking with us, you can make a phone call. Because as the young man just stated, the fight starts here, but it's won on the state level. So if we have to sign petitions and send 2,000 petitions to the governor, we're going to have to do it. If we have to call his office every day, we're going to have to do it. But change is going to take place right here, right now.
Yes, thank you, thank you. So with that, I'm going to wrap and I'm going to close, because as I am a candidate running, I am a child of God first. And I believe in God's promise for us here in Roselle. And I believe he wants us to live in prosperity and peace right here in the borough of Roselle. And I believe he's bringing about change so that his vision for us can come true. And so I just want to close out in prayer. because I think that that is what we need. In addition to action, we also need prayer. And so, Father God, we come before you in the humblest way we know how, Lord God. And we know that we believe in your vision for the borough of Roselle, Lord God. And we know that you are calling us to rise up and to stand up against those that are doing ill will to us, Lord God. You say no more. No more shall we be taken advantage of, Lord God. No more shall we be allowed people to stay in position who are not doing right by your people, Lord God. And we ask you to give us the strength to continue to stand. And we ask you to give us wisdom to understand what it is we're looking at and what we should be paying attention to. And Lord God, we ask you to restore love to Roselle. We ask you to restore faith in the people. There are so many people suffering, Lord God, who can't afford to stay in their homes, who have built their foundation and it's crumbling right before their eyes, Lord God. We ask that you to carry the borough of Roselle, Lord God. We know that everything is possible through you, Jesus Christ. We love you and thank you guys so much for coming out. Let's give each other a round of applause. One more thing. Sorry. Cynthia, yes, sorry.
Hi again. I personally want to thank everyone for coming out, and especially my 3rd Ward residents. I am very, very tired because everyone that's on my list, we're offline, but guess what? Ring the doorbell and go to their house. That's how we win. That's how we win. Walk, ring the doorbell, and meet. When I go to my residents and I say to them, I'm on column G, but let me tell you what G is for: good and God. Those are 2 things that you cannot predict. We're good and we definitely serve God. So again, I want to thank all my 3rd Ward residents and everyone else, my committee, for coming out supporting this endeavor. Thanks again, and if you need anything, please feel free to ask questions. We're here for you. Thanks again.
Thank you so much. And there's one thing I'm going to ask. I need one more favor, and that is we have a lot of seniors here. And I would like to make sure that they get a plate first. And so we're going to ask our seniors to go up and get what they need if you haven't eaten already. Okay? We love you. Thank you so much for coming out.